So today's a big day. We're going to go visit my good friend Luke McFadden. He's got a project that he's working on, and I think you're going to like it. Luke's going to give us a little tour around his 38-foot deadrise project that he's working on right now.
Yeah, we have here, this is the truest of deadrises. This is a 1975 Deltaville, Virginia boat, Chesapeake Bay deadrise. This is like the most iconic kind of boat to the Chesapeake Bay. It's different than a lot of wood boats. It's planked differently, meaning it's constructed differently. Most of the time they will build them upside down and then they will flip them over, although that's really hard to do. They'll basically start with one giant timber that runs bow to stern. So there's one continuous tree in this boat that starts in the bow and runs all the way to the stern, which they call the keelson, which is this giant plank, you know, inside the boat that it's built off of. And then they plank the boat from the keelson, which is in here, this is the keel, from the keelson to the chine, which is where it turns. And then they plank the rest of the boat bow to stern, you know, which is typical of a wood boat. But the thing that makes the deadrise different is that the bottom is planked keelson to chine instead of fore and aft, which is how your average boat's planked. But they built them like this because they were built tough. You could build them quickly. You didn't need a lot of material. You didn't need exceptional craftsmanship to build them. You know, they're pretty much just bent planks. There is a little bit of twisting, and there is definitely craftsmanship and artistry in this boat. I can see it, but compared to, you know, a lot of the other wood boats of the time, they were simple, easy, and cheap, and fast to build. So they made great work platforms. They were relatively shallow draft, but they were wide enough to be stable in the water. They were never meant to be speed demons, but they are planing hulls, so they can move at a decent clip. I mean, this boat, if you put a 300 horsepower cat in it, it would probably run 18 knots, you know, which is fast for one of these. Fast for a crab boat. This boat is a little past its prime. I bought this boat not to put back in the water. I bought this boat to turn into a crab stand, actually. So I'm going to pretty it up and then convert it into a storefront to be able to sell the seafood I catch. But I have it hauled up here on the hard. I just got it home from Kent Island. I bought it on Kent Island and towed it home as it was like sinking. And once I scraped all the barnacles off of it, it had lots more holes in it. So the barnacles were structural on this boat. They were definitely holding it together. Like you can see daylight right here, which is not ideal. Doesn't really matter because this boat's not going back in the water. It'll just be a crab stand, but it's got the classic look, and you know, it's very kind of iconic to the area, and it has a good story. You know, this boat provided for a lot of people's families. I'm sure this boat put people's kids through college, which is pretty interesting, I think. They're all built different. You know, no two deadrises were ever built the same because there's not really plans. You don't really get plans for boats like this. The guys that built them just kind of built them. There's not a lot of freeboard on a deadrise, and that's because you need to be close to the water to be able to do what you're doing. I mean, you don't want to have to be breaking crab pots, lifting crab pots over, you know, 4 foot of freeboard to get them in the boat. You just want to be able to not have to bend over and not have to reach up, you know, to work. But yeah, it's a very iconic deadrise shape. The deadrise actually refers to the angle of the stern. It's a very, very flat, basically a flat bottom in the stern, a very obtuse angle, which I guess this is the deadrise. I don't know. I'm no expert, but that's what I've been told. But we don't use a lot of wood boats like this anymore to work. Some guys do. In the upper bay, it's not as common to use a wood boat. If they do use a wood boat, it's usually either a plywood and fiberglass boat or a wood boat that's been glassed over. Just because wood boats require a lot of work, and there is not a lot of guys left that know how to do the work, really. It's a craft, it's an art to build these boats and to keep them alive. And with the rising cost of operation and everything else in the industry, it's just trying to keep your boat alive, you know, as a wooden boat is just one more thing that takes a ton of time. I mean, you got to be married to one of these things if you want to use it. You'd be under there replacing planks, rolling caulk every year. You know, just they are an immense amount of work. They're easy to fall in love with, but they're a lot of work to be married to. So that's why These boats, a lot of these are getting phased out for things like fiberglass boats, things like plywood and glass boats. They're cheaper, easier to fix, less to maintain, less material. Now it would cost you a fortune to build a boat like this just because of the lumber. Before, it was the cheapest thing to build it out of because there was lumber everywhere.
And what's the name of this boat?
This boat is named the Dora Lynn. I guess that was the wife of the guy that owned this boat. This boat spent most of its life on Smith Island, which is a little island in the Chesapeake, and it's all watermen. So this was a very common boat to have there. We're going to keep the name. It's bad luck to rename deadrise anyway.
I did not know that.
Yep, you're not supposed to rename. You can do whatever you want. It's a free country for now, but they say bad luck to rename a workboat.
Sure. I had not heard that. That's cool.
It's a diamond in the rough, but I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be cool. If you want to look inside of it, you can kind of see. It's pretty interesting how they're put together. You don't often get to see a wood boat from the inside, how they're constructed from the inside. So this board here is called the keelson. That's what runs fore and aft. This is one continuous tree, basically, that the boat is built off of. So all the planks start here, and then they're nailed up to there. Your average wooden boat would have ribs. They were, steam bent or carved or whatever, where they would start on the side and go down and stretch all the way across and back up. Dead rises are not built like that. They're built a lot more simpler, really, with just the planks and everything. This is oh my God. Yeah, it's slick. It's wet, and it was full of oil. I had a Detroit 671. I've done that, I've busted my butt in here a couple times in the past couple days.
That 671 probably kept a lot of that wood from rot.
Dude, it was so soaked up. It took me forever to get rid of all the junk that was in here. But this is where the motor bedding would have been. That's the shaft there. The engine would have sat right here. I cut all the steel bedding out of it. These big bulkheads is what the motor bedding would mount to. And then you have these big, they call these knees. And that's kind of just like supporting that, ties it into the rest of the boat. They have these big drift pins that pin it to the boat. I had to rebuild, I had to rebuild one of these things and rebuild one of these knees. I carved that out with a chainsaw yesterday out of a creosote board that we found floating in the harbor. So, gotta do what you gotta do. That board's honestly probably period correct to the boat.
Recycle, reuse.
Exactly. I'm the biggest recycler you'll ever meet.
That's right. It's a beauty. And so you took out the engine, so that way you have more floor space?
Yep. So this will all just be a deck. I'll put a canopy on it, and it'll be like a little roadside stand.
Door somewhere, right?
Yep, yeah, I'll have a door hopefully right in between those knees. These boats are built for square footage. Crab boats are all built to have the most amount of working area. So, especially with the engine out of here, there's no engine box, you have a lot of square footage in this boat. And then the cabin and everything, it's pretty big in the cabin as well, so I'm excited about it. And there's definitely some craftsmanship, in these boats for sure. You can see in the back how those planks, when they go up, see how they start to rise back up in the horn timber there, where the rudder goes through, that's called the horn timber. Like those planks are bent on two planes. So they would either use a steam bender and nail them and bend them, or they would just take a solid block and power plank carve it, carve that twist into the board. So I think it's neat. There's a lot of craftsmanship in wooden boats, and this is a good example of a Chesapeake dead rise, really.
Well, thank you for showing me your boat.
No problem, man. Thanks for coming and checking it out.
If you'd like to see more content about this particular boat, please be sure to let me know in the comments below, because I think it's a fascinating project. And if you like this video, please be sure to give it a like down below too. It really helps. Anyway, here's the next video YouTube has picked for you. It's right here. Be sure to check it out. It's a good one. Thanks for watching.
I was letting it dry.
There you go. Now it's all fixed.